Hello and welcome to the Zwift Power Up Cycling Podcast. Matt Rowe here, and today we have a very special guest, the Manx missile himself, Mark Cavendish. Now, Cav is in that legend of cycling category, I think. He's in that realm of bike riders, godlike. And this week we have 5 other special episodes with some other legends of the sport which you can look forward to. So a pretty standout week for the podcast. I think it's fair to say the Zwift Power Up Cycling Podcast just got lit. So 6 well-known, famous, interesting characters and bike riders. There's going to be lots to listen and enjoy this week. Today's pod with Cav is brought to you by the leaders in endurance sports nutrition, Science and Sport. And one of Science and Sport's most innovative products may well be their new Turbo Plus range, which is the world's first sports nutrition range designed to meet the demands of indoor training and racing. So kind of a match made in heaven for Zwift. Now, the range is formulated with a cooling menthol blast and is proven to enhance performance in the heat by 5%. Now, as a Zwifter, I'm sure you appreciate how hot you get on Zwift, even with your fan blasting. So this new Turbo Plus range by Science and Sport, which includes a pre-workout gel and a powder to be used on the bike, make it up into a drink, is designed to transform your indoor cycling. No nonsense. So you can head to scienceandsport.com. And on that note, let's jump into my chat with Cav. Now, Cav's a Science and Sport ambassador. Here we go. All right, Cav, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me, mate. How are you?
Pleasure. Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. Yeah, just obviously become a dad recently, like you, mate. So you can probably tell by the bags under my eyes. Pretty hard work, but good fun. Any advice on that, first off?
I know. First of all, congratulations. Teddy's beautiful, mate. Congratulations to you both. It's the best thing in the world, isn't it?
Literally the best thing.
Changes. You do not realise you could have an emotion like you have for a kid, eh?
People tell you that as well.
Yeah.
But actually, it's not until it's your own. Can't prepare for it for sure. But no doubt, best thing ever. Now, our listeners, Cav, I think, are made up of half-season cyclists who know the history of the sport, no riders, no races and the like. However, there's the other half of our listeners on the Zwift Power Up podcast who you might call them normal people who use Zwift just for fitness and are less of a cycling fan. So mainly for those guys, I just want to share a few of your career highlights. And if I miss any, feel free to jump in. Just so we're all on the same page really as to how much you've achieved and how classy a bike rider you are, Cav. So, 4 times world champion, 1 on the road, 3 on the track, a silver in the world road race, that was in Doha, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Silver in the Olympic Games in Rio on the track. Won 30 Tour de France stages. And that's like winning every stage of a tour for 1.5 tours. It's a funny way to think about it. That's quite cool. Won 48 Grand Tour stages. Yeah. And I quite like this next one, Cav. 4 consecutive wins on the Champs-Élysées.
Yeah, it's a while ago, but yeah.
Yeah, that's if you think about that's, people say it's the world champs for the sprinters.
I think there's only been one other person won consecutively on the Champs-Élysées, twice in a row. So to win 4, it was they set the record. I spoke to the Tour de France actually, or the old course director, Jean-Francois Pacheux, that we talked. We were like, if I win a 5th, they're going to rename it for the day at L'Avenue Mark Cavendish, But I haven't won my 5th, so it's still Avenue Champs-Élysées.
If that had happened, you'd have had to steal that signpost if it was somewhere and have it take it home.
Just for that one day a year, but I don't know how much of a joke it was, but it was quite appealing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've also won held the yellow jersey, Cav. Worn that yellow jersey.
The leader's jersey in all 3 Grand Tours, and I've won the points jersey in all 3 Grand Tours. So yeah, honestly, I've done everything I can do.
And a dad to 4 lucky kids.
More important than anything, dad of 4. Husband to Peter, and that's more important than anything I've done on my bike. So.
Yeah, good on you. And this episode, Cav, sponsored by Science and Sport, and you're an ambassador, aren't you, for Science and Sport?
I have. I'm proud to be an ambassador of Science and Sport. I've been with Science and Sport a few years, but I bought Science and Sport since I was a kid. I always used it. When I was a teenager growing up, I can still remember the smell of the watermelon Go. That reminded me of going to a race. And saving up to buy a box of gels, and I wouldn't use anything else. I'm a proud, avid, not just an ambassador, but a consumer of the brand. So
I remember you used to get those multi-packs of Science and Sport products. I think they're like a tenner, and me and Luke both had a pack each, and we'd like do trades, like, I'll swap you this bar for that bar. It's like, oh, but this is a better flavour, and like trying to get one up on each other, literally trading it off. Good fun. But Cav, come into your career then. All started on a BMX way back when.
I don't know, like, if I can remember, like, I was on a bike as long as I can, you know? Like, no one in my family cycle, like, obviously your mum and dad cycled. I know Big Courtney still smashes on a bike, doesn't he? Like, every day. My family didn't ride, but at the time, I'm from the Isle of Man. 2 wheels is life on the Isle of Man, you know? I think motorbikes eclipses cycling, but we couldn't afford motorbikes, you know? So, but I was always on a bicycle. And I didn't know at the time, I just thought I was out playing with mates. But when I think back, I was always on a bike, you know, going up on the BMX track of a weekend. When I was about 11, started racing and was quite good at it. So
yeah, happy days. Funny you mentioned about my dad just then. As you mentioned that, my phone lit up saying Courtney Rowe is Zwifting.
Oh, legend. I loves it, doesn't he? Oh, a legend.
He is keen. But yeah, and then... So you started getting quite good, Cav. You started working in a bank then when you were like 15 or something. Was that a career move or?
Yeah, like I knew that I was. I kind of knew when I started racing at 11, and quite quickly I kind of not to kind of be egotistical, but I kind of knew I was good. I knew I could do it, you know.
Yeah.
And so I made a plan. Like when I was 13, like I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do, and I was like, I want to ride for Telecom, which at the time was the biggest team, you know. It was like Ineos is now, you know.
Yeah.
They had Jan Ulrich, they had Eric Zabel, and you had US Postal, but, you know, with Lance Armstrong, but they only went for GC. They only did a few races a year, they went for GC, whereas Telecom, they went to win races, they had sprinters. So I was like, that's what I want to do. So I started learning German at school, and I planned to learn that through my GCSEs, and after my GCSEs, I'd go and earn money. You know, I was from an island, like in the middle of the Irish Sea. It was hard enough to get to the UK, let alone get to Europe. And I was like, okay, got to save money up for that. And so, as soon as my GCSEs finished, I stopped and I went to work in Barclays Bank. And it was a case of 2 years saving money. I still kind of raced then, but I wasn't really training. I was super heavy. I just did it for fun, you know. I still went to the UK. I won part of the junior series, things like this. But I wasn't very good, you know. And I was able to save money up during them 2 years to kind of move away when I was 18. So,
but talking about being, you know, saving up money and not having much money, you jumped on the academy then with Rod in Manchester. 58 quid a week was it that what you were living on in Manchester?
I can't really remember. We weren't on much, yeah, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah, we had to move into these into like kind of student housing, and you know, all Olympic prospect athletes, they all get a grant from UK Sport, and ours was the lowest base, and we had to give half of that back for the rent. So we weren't on much, but I was quite fortunate because I'd saved the money up. I could live a little bit more, I wouldn't say comfortable, but a little bit more comfortable, you know.
Yeah. That's fair. And would you say the academy there played a big part in shaping you as a bike rider, taught you a lot in those early days with Rod in Manchester and that regime?
I think, in terms of riding a bike, like, I don't know, like, I know that's in me to ride a bike, you know, like it is with you, like it is with Luke, like you're a racer, it's in your instinct to race, I think, but definitely how to be part of a team, how to work hard first and foremost, like we grafted.
Yeah.
But I think most importantly was how to work in a team dynamic. You know, we didn't choose our housemates, for instance. We were put in a house, and some of them weren't that comfortable to live with. But to learn how to all work together, really, on and off the bike, that really taught me a lot to go forward. Absolutely.
Good life lessons, though. I guess, you know, you're on Tour de France, and you're perhaps rooming with someone that, you know, isn't your best mate. Got to get on with them. So learning those skills at a young age.
Well, at the end of the day, like cycling, sport, any aspect of life, you're going to get people from all different, all different personality types, from different backgrounds, all working together in the same job. And, you know, as a team, it's important. And any team, no matter what it's compromised, is compromised. No matter what it's comprised of, works better than an individual. You know, there was a study done that said one productive but toxic person at baseline, like corporate work. One hard, like like productive but toxic person
Yeah.
gets less from a company than a few less productive people, but who work well together, you know. And I think in cycling, it's all about teamwork. And I think I wouldn't have done hardly anything of what I've done without incredible teams. And I'm fortunate to be part of incredible teams, some of the best teams in history, you know. And I'm very fortunate and proud that you know, I could be part of them. I think I know more than a lot of riders how important teamwork is, how important it is to get on a personal level, not just do your job on a bike, you know. I think you always get a lot more out when you know you work together on a personal level. You see that with a lot of the British guys, with Luke, with Geraint. When I was there at Sky, you know, you get that extra percentage when you're living and dying for each other, aren't you? So
yeah, for sure. I mean, to the untrained eye, it's amazing how many people think cycling is a individual sport. And you know, the amount of people who said to me, "Oh, your brother's doing the Tour de France. He finished last. Oh, bless him. You know, is he okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's great because like Chris Froome won the Tour de France. He's happy as Larry, you know." Don't get it.
For me, like you know, they have like the team prize at the Tour. Like, why does the team not win? Do you know, like in football, like the striker scores a goal, you know, but it's the team that wins. It is a team sport. It's as much a team sport as anything where a whole team wins.
You know, it's only really Movistar in the Vuelta who seem, and the Tour, who really take that team competition really seriously. They seem to prioritise it and really kind of race for it. There's not many other teams who do, is there?
Not really.
No.
It's different. I guess it's about going for what you know you can achieve. You know, there was a lot of prize on offer, isn't it? And ultimately, you have to look at it's incredible cycling that it's not just like, you know, like most sports are kind of like team A or person A versus person or team B. It's one versus one, and it's cycling. You got 20 teams about in a race, all consisting of 7-8 riders. There's not even you hardly go for a top 3 on the podium. Like, it's about winning or not, and second is not important, which is. It's ironic considering there's that many more starters on the start line every day, you know? It's a bit nuts, you know? You know, like, for instance, like, if you have less starters, if you win or lose in a 1 versus 1, you're only second. Whereas, actually, you could have a good ride in cycling and be 22nd. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit nuts, actually. They're like...
Yeah,
like a top 20 is actually...
Yeah, it is when you think about it.
But if you have less starters, like for instance, a track... Right, if you do the Olympic road race and then you do the Olympics on the velodrome and you finish 14th in the Olympic road race and you finish 14th in the Olympics points race, you're still 14th, but one of them you're last, the other one you're in the top 8%, really, you know. It's a bit nuts.
Yeah. That's funny, that, isn't it? And I guess we'll get into each of your individual world champs titles and events. That's what we're going to focus on today. But just talk about the road and track differently. Do you hold your road and track world titles in kind of different level of prestige because of the reasons you mentioned then?
Absolutely not. They're world titles. I always said when I was young I wanted to be world champion. If that was in playing tiddlywinks, it didn't matter what it was. I wanted to be the best in the world. And I think actually... like the track is kind of often held in lower self-esteem, you know, like the amount of times that road riders come to the track and just think it'll be easy and just get the head kicked in, you know, like it's a different sport, you know, track cycling, it's a completely different sport. For me, it's a more spectator friendly sport. The action's better in the racing. But obviously the pinnacle is the Olympic Games. So track cycling kind of has a resurgence every 4 years, whereas road has a season that carries on, you know, but, no, a world title, you know, it's never easy to win a world title in whatever sport it is, whatever discipline it is. So I'm proud of all my stripes, you know. Good.
And your first world title then, Cav, 2005 in the Madison with Rob Hales.
Yeah.
Going into that, you were, you know, quite young at the time. What were your thoughts and feelings? Were you just confident? Were you nervous? I mean, where was your head at?
Mate, you know I wasn't even supposed to ride that. You know I was supposed to ride that race with Rob? Geraint.
Oh, I bet a crash was involved, was it?
Of course it was. Of course it was.
Was it?
We were in Australia. We were in Australia for like 6 weeks, and we were riding to the velodrome, and someone hit an object in the road, and it flicked up into Geraint's wheel. He went over the handlebars, and
I remember now.
he ruptured his spleen. He was in hospital.
Spleen, yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
and so I got the call up, and we went to LA. G came with us actually, and he was like white. You know, he's pale anyway, G, isn't he? But he's more pale than normal. Little skinny ankles on him, and yeah, we kind of there. Ed Clancy was there. He was doing the team pursuit, and
yep.
I was just there. I was doing the scratch and the Madison, but because you know British cycling's quite team pursuit orientated, isn't it? You know, they put everything into that. So as a bunch race rider, you kind of just got pushed aside. And now as a 19-year-old bunch race rider, you're gonna get pushed to the side even more. And so the riders were wicked. You know, they all super looked after us, and especially sprinters Chris Hoy, Craig McLean, Jamie Staff, like they real like looked out for us, and then did the scratch race. I think I finished 4th, and then came to the Madison. Everyone there had won like a world title, like the team pursuit winning. Chris Newton won the point race, and I was rooming with Rob Ailes, who was my partner there, and we sat there in the morning of the race, and he's like, "Right, let's go and win a world title then," you know. And then it was like, "Oh!"
Did he say that?
And we had this plan. We were like, "Look, the Belgians and the Dutch, they're going to just try and kick 7 shades out of each other. So we just let that happen, and we go for one big attack at the end, you know." At the time, it was different. Like the Madison's completely changed now. You know, so the Madison is basically a points race for 2 people, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And now it's every 10 laps is a sprint for 5, 3, 2, 1 points for the first four riders across the line. And they total the points at the end, and the person with the most points wins, rather than the guy just being first across the line. Now, if you lap the field, you get 20 bonus points. And the Madison is basically that, but with 2 people, and they're like the alternate. It's the same. They do a ice skating race like that, like speed skating.
Okay.
And like endurance ride. I know you know what the Madison is, Matt, but you know, just for the listeners,
Yeah.
But the Madison, it used to be if you lapped the field, you were a lap ahead. You didn't get 20 extra points. Like it was about getting laps. The Madison, when it started, originated over 100 years ago, and it was always about getting laps. And they only brought in points later to differentiate people on the same laps. So even if you had 0 points, if you lapped the field, you were automatically up. So someone with 1 lap and 0 points would beat someone on the par lap with 20 points, you know? Mm-hmm. And so they changed it a couple of years ago, and it's made a mess of it, in my opinion. But that's another story.
Yeah.
But we sat there, and exactly like Rob said, like the Belgians, the Dutch, the Germans were going at each other, and we sat, and with less than 10k to go, Rob went, and we went for a lap, and we got a lap, and I was like finished at the end. I was on my hands and knees, you know. By the end, I was getting dropped from the peloton, and Rob was pulling it back. I was getting dropped, and and so we finished it 1 lap and 0 points, and that was the first world title. So.
Epic. And it's, again, coming back to which of your titles mean more, does the first one mean more to you? I mean, you dreamt of being world champion as a kid, and you finally done it. Is that the first experience? Was that a greater level of elation and excitement and happiness, or again, are they all on equal level?
They're all on equal level. I think you won't find many wins that although it might look like they're it's just a formality. No win is a formality, you know. I think the difference between a win and a good win is how it looks, but nothing makes difference on how hard it is to get there, or the work that goes in to get there, you know. And the pressure, you know, when you're expected to win and you win, mm-hmm. It's harder than when you win as an underdog. That's for sure, you know. Actually, it's only the last couple of years that I haven't been expected to win races, you know, and it's completely different. Like the pressure is it feels a lot different. The weight on the shoulders feels a lot different. You know?
So, mate, you're world champ, and then you seem to turn your attention to the road. 2005-06, Sparkus, amateur team. Do you put the track on the back burner then? Was it all about just a road career, or?
Yeah, well, I pretty much signed for Telecom, like I wanted to when I was 13. Right. I knew I was going to Telecom in 2007 or the end of 2006, and I was put in Germany with Ed Clancy for 2 years to learn about, to learn the language, to learn about German life and whatever. And I liked it there. You know, we had this apartment, we had no kitchen, we had to say we didn't have hot water is a bit of an exaggeration. Like we had lukewarm water, you know, and so we had all we really ate was cereal and washed our bowls out in the bath with lukewarm water, you know. But I loved it. Like we went over in Ed's little Citroen AX, packed with the bikes and our kit, and that was us gone for a year and a half. But
nice baptism of fire. Nice.
Oh, I loved it. I really loved it. And we got to do pro races and race full gas. You know, I won a couple. I don't know if they're actually counted in my pro wins, but I won a couple of pro races when I was there as an amateur.
Got you, yeah.
And just raced. It was just racing, you know. So.
Yeah. And you mentioned T-Mobile. You always wanted to sign for those, you know, that famous pink and white kit. And as you mentioned, it is kind of like signing for, you know, today's Ineos or Man United in football. It's, you know, the big team, big boys, you know, Zabel, Vinikurov, Ulrich, Kloden. Did these guys have an influence on you? And you know, 'cause you're quite young at that point, and were they influential on you, Kev?
I don't know. I guess, in all honesty, no one really had an influence on me. I used to love watching cycling. That was it. But you know, the only person I ever, you know, when you're young and you go out and pretend to be a rider. You know, when in your head, even when you're old, you go out and pretend to be a rider. I still do it now, but you know, you imagine you're someone. The person, who did you always imagine you were if you did that?
I was actually Ulrich. Luke was a Pantani fan, and I was an Ulrich fan. Attacking Luke on the way home and shouting, "I'm Jan Ulrich" or something as you attack to get home first.
going up the tumble. Imagine you're on Mont Ventoux and that thing.
Exactly, yeah. But that type of stuff, Cav, I mean, you know, cyclists, men, women, boys and girls all around the world have done that thing, attacked, screaming your name, you know, sprinting to the calf, shouting, I'm Cav. I guess at that younger age, when you were having all that success, you know, for the last 15 years, really, have you been aware of that and kind of the impact you have on people?
I don't know. I do feel a sense of pride. You know, I'm lucky that during my career, we've seen this evolution of cycling, especially in the UK, but not just in the UK, but around the world. But to see the amount of people that ride bikes now, and to think that I maybe had some influence on that in some small way, it's that makes me the proudest out of all my wins, out of everything I've done on the bike, to have been able to influence in any small way the amount of people on bikes, whether they're racing, whether it's families going out, whether it's commuting to work. Or even just people watching cycling, that makes me super proud. It's incredible to see that many bikes out.
Yeah.
And just see how kind of, you know, cycling's come from a kind of niche sport to still a bit of a niche sport, but a lot more mainstream, you know?
Yeah. I'd go as far as saying in school it was kind of a weird sport. You know, I'd almost be a little bit embarrassed to kind of for people to see me in my cycling kit when I was in school. And now it's trendy, it's fashionable, it's probably one of the coolest sports you can get into.
Mate, I remember going in the changing rooms for PE and just cringing because I had shaved legs, you know, and knowing I was going to get ripped for it, you know.
Yeah.
And now it's people sport tan lines with pride now, don't they? You know. Can you imagine? Remember when you imagine going out with tan lines? It's
bad.
And now
bad.
You don't even think about it. You know, my wife Peter said when she first met me, she was like, "What is this?" And now she doesn't. She doesn't really notice. You know.
Yeah. You know, another obviously Zwift has been massive for, you know, getting people on bikes and getting people more active, keeping them fit. You know, we're talking about that massive surge in, people cycling, Zwift has played a massive role in that as well, obviously, in the last 5 or so years.
Oh yeah, well I think especially now more than ever, people are looking for ways to keep fit and not just to keep fit, but to interact with people. I think this year showed a lot how you need a community, you need people. I think lockdown's not just taking its toll on businesses, on the well-being of people, but the mental health side, the community side of it. And I think people are looking for ways that they can not just keep fit, but be able to interact and to do them together. That's exactly what Zwift does, and it's superb. I didn't ever ride an indoor trainer before. Like, I never ever rode an indoor trainer. I had to ride it sometimes, but I never wanted to, if that makes sense. I'd always preferred to go out, or if the weather was too bad or the circumstances meant I couldn't go out, you'd always find an excuse not to do an indoor trainer. Till I tried Zwift first time, and it completely changed my perception of riding indoors. And I was a gamer growing up. I always grew up gaming, and to be able to combine that with what's not even my passion, it's my job and my passion. Zwift ticked all the boxes there. And
cool. What did you play, Cav? What games as a kid?
Everything really.
FIFA.
From FIFA, driving games, like first-person shooters, roleplay, everything.
GTA.
Really,
That was a big one, wasn't it? Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, GTA, yeah. Do you remember GTA?
Be a hooligan, basically.
Yeah. Like, do you remember the original top-down view one? Like the original Grand Theft Autos, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They were good.
So
then.
basic.
Yeah.
Back to your role model, Cav. Didn't quite get that out of you. Who is your role model then? I was Ulrich.
It was Johan Museeuw.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I'd always I remember seeing him riding the classics and just going out. And not even if there's cobbles. Yeah, if there's bumpy roads, I just imagine I was in.
Yeah.
And obviously I got to know, funny story, I got to know him. Obviously when I turned professional, especially when I rode for Quickstep, it was a Belgian team. And honestly, I feel Belgian. And and I was speaking to Johan, I was telling him his story, and he's like, well, you want to know the funny thing? He's like, what? He said, my son, you were his hero.
Class.
He had posters of you, and I was like, wow. It made me so proud, so honoured, you know. And his son, it's incredible that his son's he's riding now. He rides for a small professional team. And actually, there's a few guys who's, I didn't ride with Johan, but there's a few guys who've turned pro now, whose dads I rode with, raced with,
Class.
And that's when you realise how fast the time's gone.
Yeah. And I think of the pressure, though, for Johan Museeuw's son. He must feel some pressure there to kind of follow in the footsteps, but it's almost mission impossible, isn't it?
I know, what do you do when you're the son of a rider who's won a lot? For instance, Casper, my youngest, he's 2, and out of all of them, he's the one that you'd say, yeah, he's going to ride bikes. From really, Matt, for sure, Teddy would be the same. He's obsessed with bikes.
Class.
He's obsessed with them. Since before he was walking, he was on a little balance bike since 11 months old. And he's just, from the minute he wakes up, he puts his helmet on and he's round the house on his bike, We were up the BMX track the other week. He doesn't really care to watch Peppa Pig or anything like that. He wants to watch cycling. The other day we were chilling and I had to put an old Roubaix on, Paris-Roubaix on for him to watch. He's just obsessed with it. And for instance,
unreal. So
he wants to be a cyclist. We know that, but although I'll always, with all the kids, I'll encourage them to do whatever they want to do without limits, and always support them. It makes me nervous about him going to cycling. Obviously, I know the risks and the dangers involved.
Yeah.
I know how difficult the lifestyle is, and for good and bad, he'll always have the Cavendish name. So that's something that there'll always be benefits to that, but there'll always be a weight of expectation. It makes me kind of nervous I don't know how I feel about him going on, trying to always live up to something. Maybe he absolutely eclipses it, but there's always that as a parent, there's always that sense of nerves in it.
Yeah. I'm sure, mate, you'll navigate that tricky path somehow. But yeah, tricky, man. Tricky for sure. Back to the Worlds, Cav. 2008, another gold medal and another world title in Manchester with Brad this time. Again, that whole... Just talk to me about that whole Worlds experience. Second time round, different, the same, going into it, I guess there was a certain level of expectation that you had on yourself. Now, I've done this before. I can and I need to and I should do it again, maybe.
Well, Brad and I were teammates in High Road that year.
Yep.
And it was all part of the Olympic build-up. You know, we were going to be riding the Madison together in Beijing. So we started riding at the Ghent 6 Day the year before. And I'd just come off holiday, actually. So I had my Neo Pro year. I'd won 11 races and I needed a holiday. But then we came in to ride some of the 6 days together to get used to how we ride as Madison partners. And I wouldn't say we got heads kicked in. I got my head kicked in. Brad was fine and Brad carried me through it a bit, but it wasn't. Yeah, I let him down there for sure. But we went to then a World Cup in the test event. It was a World Cup at the track in Beijing, and even though I was still unfit, we still medalled there, and we knew then that we were a perfect fit for a Madison partnership. You know, like I was fast, and Brad was fast as well, but Brad was like the stayer. He could hold a high speed for a long time, so we complement each other perfectly. You know, and then the Worlds was part of that build up. We knew we'd be favourites, and it was in Manchester. It was at home, and it was a lot easier, that one. Like we controlled that race from the beginning to the end, really. The Danes, Michael Morkov, who's still riding now, and Alex Rasmussen, who I think was also a teammate at the time, or maybe the year after, on the road. They were the ones that gave us the hardest time, but it was, I wouldn't say it was easy. It's a world title, but we were in control, I'd say, for the race, you know, and that was that. Not much more to say with that one.
And then jumping ahead then to the Olympics, I guess less said about that one, the better. Wasn't the best Olympics for you, Cav, was it? 2008.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal. We didn't win. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. And then stepped away from the track, Cav, and threw yourself into a road career, which obviously really kicked on. Do you think having just that sole focus of being a road rider was a contributing factor there, not having to juggle the performances on both road and track, looking for that form summer and winter, or do you think it was just your coming of age?
I don't know, Matt. I don't think so, because already 2008, the year we were just talking about, that's when I won my first Grand Tour stages. I went to the Giro.
Sure.
And I won 2 stages at the Giro. And then I went to the Tour de France, my second ever Tour de France, and won 4. And that was before the Olympics even happened, you know. So
sure.
So I already won 20-something races that year in 2008. But I think definitely it was always going to be a benefit to kind of not focus on the track. But I ended up doing the track in 2009 anyway. I went to the Worlds to ride the scratch in Madison with Pete Kenyick, you know. The week after I won Milan San Remo. So 2009, I went at the end of 2008. I won 4 stages of the tour. I won a load of races, and we sat down and looked at the targets. And I said, I'd like to give Milan San Remo a go. And actually, it didn't just people just look at me. They laughed at me, you know, in the team, people who supported me. I'd never done the race. I'd never done a monument. And they were like, you know, it's hilly.
300 kilometers.
And I was like, but I think I can do it. And they were like, okay, if you say that. Eric Zarbo was on board, and that was it. My winter was focused on my training for Milan San Remo, and all I did was ride full gas up climbs between 3 and 5 kilometers all winter, leaned up, and I went to Milan San Remo, and I won. And then that night I'd won, I spent my night in an airport hotel and flew straight to Poland to ride the village, to ride the track worlds again. So
that's bonkers. I mean, how do you get your head in the game for that? I know it's the World Champs. It's massive. You're riding with a fellow countryman and with Pete, but just won your first monument. Like, temptation is go out and celebrate and just, I don't know.
It never has been like that, Matt. I've never it's like, and
just on to the next.
I'll have enough time when I retire. I'll have enough time when I retire to look back on what I have done. Everything was always about moving on to the next thing, you know. I think too many riders, they win once and they live off that for a few years, and then they never quite achieve anything. Anything else, you know, I was always wanting to continue to push myself further and further, not just continue to win, but continue to set new goals and try and achieve them, you know. I think it's important to always have a goal, whether you're an individual or a team. You have short-term and long-term things to work towards, and it gives you stepping stones to be able to do that.
Yeah, interesting. And just transferring, we talk about road and track and kind of balancing the two objectives. Going from road to track, obviously, perfect example of being able to do that at the highest level. Going the other way, less possible, right? You know, if you're training a winter on the track, trying to step into a monument, not possible. Just haven't got the miles in the legs, that endurance.
It's possible, but it's hard work to do. Like it means vomiting in your training sessions. It means not being able to walk down the stairs on a morning. Like it's just it's a mindset to be able to do it. I think you do need a certain physiology. There's very few people that can switch quickly. For instance, if we look back to 2016, Brad stopped a year before the Olympics to train specifically on the track. Elia Viviani then stopped after the Giro in May to prepare for the Olympics on the track in August. 2 weeks before the Olympics, I was riding up Mont Ventoux.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But then I had to stop, obviously, the tour after. I couldn't just finish the tour and then go and ride the Olympics a week later. I had to stop the tour with a week to go and go straight on the track. And then it's a case of just suffering. Like, there's a particular way to do it, and I don't want to give away the secrets of how to train it, but you can do it. There's some specific drills you can do, but it's hard. It's more of a mindset than a physical thing, you know, to be able to do it. They're different sports.
Interesting. 2011 Project Rainbow. Talk me through that. I mean, there's a good book out there, Rod's book about how British cycling sought to win the men's World Road Race with you. Could you paraphrase that book somehow?
It's no one had won the male World Road Race title since Tommy Simpson, and we've been dominating quite a lot the women's world titles, but nobody won a men's world title on the road since then in the road race. And we knew a few years before that the course was going to be in Copenhagen. It was going to be a sprint, and obviously I was the dominant sprinter at the time. It made sense to build a team around me, but how the UCI rules work is you need to qualify your places to have teams. You know, the top teams will have more riders than somebody who's lower down the world rankings. But the problem that comes with that is that we don't ride for our national teams during the year. We ride for trade teams. So kind of you have to do your job, you know. But we needed to respect that, but then fight for every point possible to get as many riders on the start line as possible. And so Rod brought us in, and it was a 3-year plan to try and get as many riders as possible to be able to guarantee we had a bunch sprint there in Copenhagen. I think if you go and look at the course in Copenhagen, if you see the finish, like you stand at the bottom and you go, that's not a sprint. You know, it's a climb, man. It was the top of a hill, but kind of about how a professional sees a hill, to how a, say in quotation marks, a normal person sees a hill. It's a different perspective, you know. And we did it. We had everyone committed, even the guys that committed through the 3 years who didn't ride on the start line are as important to that win as all the guys that were there on the start line. And it was pretty special. You see things like Geraint, for instance, like I lost Geraint's wheel on the final corner. And normally, I tell you, 90% of other riders, if they take their own opportunity. But Geraint swung out to look to see if I was all right, you know. And that shows how close we are. Going back to what we were saying at the beginning of the podcast, you know, about you know, it's important to be friends before teammates.
Yeah, tell you what, there's the clip of that. Just jump on YouTube, and 2011 World Road Race champs Cavendish. Put that in or something. Watch it, because it gets exactly what you said there, Cav. I can visualize it. Cav, you can see G just looking back. There is one thing on his mind, and that is getting you on his wheel to the line. I guess it takes that sort of team commitment to make this happen. I mean, you spoke there about a 3-year plan to get you to become world champion. And really, it boiled down to that last minute of the bike race, inside the last K there. That split decision there by G, and obviously 3 years worth of planning and thinking, literally crystallising in a couple of moments.
Yeah, it could have gone wrong. That's where I'm saying again about having the pressure to deliver when you're expected to deliver over than just trying to deliver. There's a massive difference there, but we did it.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Back to the track then, Cav. 2016. Obviously, your success is roaring, but by this stage, you've kind of done most things. Yet you went back to the track for the Worlds, winning another gold medal in the Madison with Wiggins again. I guess there's this Olympic theme, part of prep for Rio.
Yeah, well, they took the Madison wasn't in Rio. They took after that 2008 Olympics. They took the Madison out of the games, and they just had because the BMX came in, so we had to cut the amount of medals, and then and obviously, quite rightly, parity was brought in across medal numbers between men and women events.
Yep.
But whereas swimming can have I think there's 16 medals or something on offer, maybe more, gold medal offers. Like cycling, like BMX, road, track, we all fall under the same number of medals, So they cut the numbers of events, and they said, okay, well, there's loads of these track events, so we'll do the team pursuit, and then all the other events will combine into one and make an omnium, and these idiots can go do all the events for just one medal. So had to try and do the omnium. I was a bunch race rider. I had to try and that was my chance to get an Olympic medal there in Rio. So I went back that winter to prepare on the track, but I still obviously had commitments with my road team. And the World Championships was in London again at home, and I was mainly focusing on the Olympics to try and like always, I've had to jump through hoops, especially with British cycling. I've always had to jump through hoops, even I've won 3 world titles. Still always seem like you jump through hoops. It's the age-old thing of, lab tests and numbers. If they don't match, you kind of have to jump through bigger hoops or hoops covered in fire or whatever to prove your worth. And I wasn't guaranteed a ride at the Olympics, so I had to go out and try and perform in the Worlds, and ultimately I only finished 6th, I think, in the Omnium there. But it was a case of I could have thrown everything in, put all my eggs in one basket, and got higher. But at the same time, with your eggs in one basket, I could have failed dramatically. So I kind of rode a bit cagey there, just to know that I did enough to warrant selection, which isn't my normal personality type, but I knew I had to do that. And I finished that Omnium, and I could have done it all again, physically. So I was like, whoa, I need to win here. So I went to Brad. We were staying near the velodrome. He'd done his team pursuit, and I went, and he was in the room next door to me. I messaged him when I got home, and I said, "Are you up?" He said, "Yeah." I went around to his room. I said, "Right, mate, how are you feeling? Will you be okay for 50k?" Because he'd only been training for the team pursuit, which is 4k. And he said, "Yeah, I'm okay for 50k, one hit out." And I was like, "Right, tomorrow then we don't go to ride, we got to win."
Nice.
Because it was London, we obviously go and Brad and I riding in London was a pretty big crowd pleaser. But then at that point, I knew we could win. I said, "Listen, head game on, we win it." And we went out, and like 2008, I believe we absolutely dominated it. It was incredible. I still, when I think of the noise there in the London Velodrome, I was pretty special. It was Brad's last year. He was going to retire at the end of that year. We'd started our journey at home Worlds in 2008 on the track, and then we'd gone and done everything we'd done in our road careers to kind of bookend it with a world title again on the track in the Madison. That was pretty special.
Nice. We're not going to go ride. We're going to go win. That's cool. That's like a goosebump moment, that, Cav. That's cool. That kind of took us up to your last world title, 2016. And on the topic of Worlds, there's still 2 more world champion cyclists to be crowned this year, Cav, with the esports world champs on Zwift, 8th and 9th of December. I mean, what are your thoughts on esports? I mean, you're an experienced Zwifter, level 35 on Zwift, I believe. Tempted to compete at all?
No, mate. Honestly, my biggest thing on Zwift is a community feel, is the ability to bring riders from any age, any sex, any country, all together to be able to ride. And I enjoy I started cycling. I think like yourself, you enjoy cycling for that club run feel, for going out, seeing people kind of racing for signs. That's everything I love about Zwift. But I think the most important reason I can't ride the races, I don't put out big numbers.
Sure.
Like it's all power to weight, and I don't put out big numbers. You know, I ride a lot more with instinct and tactics. But you know, esports is the fastest growing spectator sports sector in the world. You know, and I think to be able to change the dynamic of how a sport's been ran for 100 years and push it in that digital age and way is pretty cool to see, you know, and to see it be recognised by the UCI as a world title. I'm excited to see who the first world champions will be. You know, I wonder if they'll be from the professional road peloton or if they'll be from dedicated Zwift riders.
You know, that's the big question, and I think and kind of secretly hope it's someone not from the pro peloton. It's someone who's like got a part-time job and just Zwift dedicates so much of their time to Zwift because they love it and they know Zwift inside out, know all the routes, and that's who I hope wins it. And just be a complete, you know, turn things on its head, make people's heads turn, I think. But we'll see, mate. It'll be quite interesting, and be back on the size of esports, you know, attracting huge crowds. I mean, in Asia especially, it's ridiculous. Thousands of people come to watch 2 gamers play Call of Duty or whatever. And obviously with Zwift, you've got that game element on screen, but you've also got the in real life element of, you know, being able to watch people suffering in real life. So I think long term there's a big opportunity there for Zwift and esports. Do
you know what my biggest thing is? If I take myself away from being a professional cyclist and look at as the fan I am, I think my biggest thing is it's not just about watching the riders compete. You can then do the same sport. You can compare yourself to the riders, you know, so you can see what they do, what power output they do, the time they do for the different circuits.
Yeah. And
you can go and do exactly the same, you know. The conditions are the same. You know, you don't have to pick a day, you don't have to travel. You can then ride you can do it at the same time if you want while you're watching. You can ride that world championship circuit at the same time as the men and women who are going for world titles. I think that's pretty special. That's pretty different to anything else you can do. Okay, in cycling you could go and ride the roads and the courses, but at the same time you can actively imagine you're in the world championships.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen, Cav. Well, mate, I think great chatting to you. Thanks for opening up so much about so many different topics. Genuinely been a pleasure chatting to you, mate, and hopefully see you on Zwift for spin sometime.
All right, mate. Take care. Give my love to Teddy and Danny, okay? And your mum and dad.
Likewise. Cheers, mate.
All right. See ya. Ciao.
Thank you so much for joining me today on another Zwift podcast Recon ride. This has been episode 1 featuring Mark Cavendish, our featured profile rider, who is interviewed by Matt Rowe. Along with this podcast today, we also featured a 50 minutes group ride, also led by Matt Rowe himself, and we enjoyed a comfortable pace that went around the Watopia figure 8 on the reverse format. To cap it off, we even did a 15 seconds full all-out sprint, just like what the Manx Missile would have done himself for a race. So in this instance, I'd just like to say thank you very much for tuning into this live stream. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and like, and also subscribe to my channel for more videos in future. Please take care, stay well, and I'll see you soon on my next live stream. Bye for now.